Hey, what's up, YouTube? This is EV Comics, and today I've got a fun but also going to be a little bit painful video. I'm going to go back and look at DemoniCo and talk about things that I would do very differently, but also make fun of my own 6-year-old art at this point. So the series started in 2020, but I started drawing it late 2019, and some of the stuff ended up like some of it ended up being uh, closer together, like as far as like the release dates, but all of it was basically drawn in between late 2019 and early 2020 for at least season and mid 2020, I guess, for the first season, right? And I kind of kept it all in like a bi-weekly upload schedule for the most part. There it's gonna be a journey. It's gonna be a journey, I promise you. But I want to go back and look. I'm not even gonna look at the first three because these are the redrawn ones. I want to look at the old stuff. I want to look at the old stuff, like the drawings that just. Oh man, it's gonna be fun. DemoniCo was my first ever comic series. It was never like I'd never done anything like that before, and it's not even really a comic. It's a hybrid novel, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. I'm not saying it's like a bad approach. I think I could do another hybrid novel today and still get some decent traction on it. But really, in this kind of field, in this sort of a creative field, you're gonna want to do comics, man. It's just you're not gonna get people as hooked as easily as you could on your stuff if you had like a comic instead of having to ask people to read, because no one reads these days, and myself included. I need to read more. But the idea basically is the idea is basically it would be like 5 to 6 paragraphs in between every drawing, and something immediately. If you're going to do a hybrid novel, first of all, start with a picture. Don't start with a wall of text like this, especially on a webcomic website. This is such a bad approach, to start with no pictures at all. Like, it doesn't really make sense. Like, set the stage. Like, tell me what I need to see, what I need to visualize for the scene. It doesn't really make any sense. Now, on the other hand, you got people who probably are looking for a reading experience but don't want the pictures because they like to imagine it, right? And I don't feel like my writing back then, especially, I don't think my writing was very good as far as writing the story out. I think it was okay, but actually like novel writing, actually writing things in a way that is like a very professional novel writing way. I don't think I did that very well. And even with Symbiotic, I feel like I didn't really do that too well either. That's a series that is probably never going to be finished just because I lost all confidence in my writing, my writing as far as like the novel goes. But I just want to look at the art. Oh man, oh man, that's good. Oh man, this was an Alex Jones reference, by the way. I just put that in there because I thought it'd be funny. Man, this is so old. The way I drew the eyes, dude. Like, what in the world? Those eyes are way too big. Um, but yeah, and then like there's my poor attempt at making like spaghetti and meatballs on a plate. Food. I mean, I don't really draw food that much, anyways, so I'm not like, gonna necessarily say I'm good at drawing food. But it's definitely gotten better than this. The noodle looks all right, I guess, for what it is. Um, but yeah, I mean, like the Monaco is like a story going through it. I think the best thing that I could do. Oh man, oh man, the chibis have come a long way, haven't they? The chibis have come a long way. Um, oh yeah, this is my attempt at making a sexy woman. Isn't she beautiful, chat? Isn't she beautiful? God knows. What's funny is I actually remastered chapter 4, but I guess I just never published it. Cause like, hold on. I'm pretty sure. I've got all the stuff here, which is kind of crazy. The fact that I just didn't post it, I guess. Yeah, issue 4. This is when I was calling them issues, even though it doesn't really make sense. Yeah. This was way better. Way better. Still not great. There's a lot of clunky things about it, like what the heck's going on with the proportions here. Her arms are tiny, her head is gigantic. Like what is going on here? Like I'm cool with this face. Like this face right here, like the Giga Chad Judas face is actually pretty good. Uh, Even like today, but man, there's just some problems with the, the proportions, man. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I just never posted it. But but yeah, like you can see the bones of the art style that I have today still here. Like you can see the thick outline and stuff like that, the hard shading and whatnot, and everything to go along with it. Like it was okay, but man, I mean, there's just first of all the bushes just look weird. I don't know, the trees, leaves, and stuff like that looks weird. There's that same splosh background effect. I've been using the same splosh background effect forever, and it still works. It just gives a little more detail to the background and stuff. It gives it a little more texture, right? Let me tell you what I would do if I'm approaching this shot right here. If I'm approaching this shot, one, I think Ruth's pose is okay. I think her pose is fine. I think the glare on the glasses. This is probably the least offensive drawing I've looked at and seen so far. I even think Simon's pose is okay, though it's weird that I did his fingers soft, like round edges. That's kind of weird for me to draw Simon with soft fingers. Anyway, obviously I'm gonna fix the joint of this. This doesn't really make sense. It's kind of weird that this outline is thick, but everything else on the inner is thin. Like for the most part, you know, I think this drawing is salvageable. But I'm fixing Timmy's eyes, right? I'm fixing Timmy's eyes. I'm doing a little bit more with the brick texture. I'm gonna make it a little more subtle instead of making it stand out so much. I'm gonna do like a little bit more with the bricks. The bushes, I have totally new design stuff for bushes, so I'm gonna take those out and copy and paste the new ones in. The tree texture as well, I'm gonna replace that and everything. And besides that, I mean, everything looks it looks salvageable here. I would probably just redraw these from the ground up, but everything looks salvageable here. But it's still like it's the least offensive drawing I've seen so far of my old stuff. But then we get to this. Oh man, I thought this drawing was so cool whenever I did it, and it is kind of like, you know, it does kind of accomplish what I wanted to do. You know, it shows the apartment that was already kind of a mess, even more of a mess now, and it's got like the threatening message on it and everything like that. I don't know why I drew the message like this. It's just kind of weird. The fridge is turned over, the carpet's torn up, the chairs are and sofas sideways with the you know the cotton stuffing all over the place. Like again, the bones of this is not bad. This is salvageable. But definitely, you know, work on the texturing, give it a little more detail to the actual like texture of the walls and stuff. Like add that little smear effect that I like to add on stuff to give it a little more of like a direction to it. And then the background, like what is this? What is outside? This is a window. Is it a bookshelf? I don't know what it is. Like I know it's a window, but I didn't want to draw the actual outside, so I just put whatever the freak this is. Definitely add a little more detail to that is what I would say. Now this one I remember being like really happy with this whenever I drew it, because like the pose of him leaping and like having his arm back, there's like a perspective to it, right? His left arm, I'm doing it wrong. Yeah, the right arm is so much more close in the shot, and the back is so much farther. So like obviously my fist looks bigger here than this fist back here. So I feel like I did a pretty decent job of the perspective, even on this all the way back then. But man, it's just it's still just it's very clunky. It's very clunky looking. Like the sharp knees, which don't get me wrong, you could probably do an art style where the knees and the elbows and stuff are sharp, but you got to commit to it. You got to hyper commit to it, and it's you got to make it super angular, which I think a lot of my art early on was angular, but it just looks weird. It just looks weird. Like if I were to do angular knees like this and elbows, I would probably just not even bother trying to you know, make anything complicated in its shape. I would probably just go more like Fairy Odd Parents. And just go with a far more like simplistic shaped style, not, you know, not realistic proportions, have everyone have like, you know, small skinny limbs and stuff like that. Like that's what I would probably do if I were to approach it from that point of the art style, but fortunately, I have gotten better at drawing joints. And then even this, I think this kind of works. I think this pose kind of works because he sees him. He's like getting ready to avoid the hit and then hit back and all that kind of stuff. I'm not even gonna read the dialogue. It's too cringe for me to even attempt to do that. This one, this one has some good things going for it, but it's not quite there. And the main thing I wanted to do with this was I didn't even want to draw any details. Like I remember specifically, I wanted to do that because I wanted you to look at it and think like, "Holy crap, what does he look like? What is like?" I wanted you to imagine it, sort of like, "Wow, what does this abomination look like here?" Whenever you're up close to him, like I describe it as like multiple heads, and you can see here there's like multiple dog heads, just sticking out of him at all places. It's very much a body horror, the Thing type of body horror to it, and the simplistic shading with the lightning, kind of lighting the edges of him, and everything else just being blacked out except for the eyes, which are yellow. Like I think it works, but again, there's several things here. One, the water could be better. The pier, I mean, it's fine. It's not the best, but it's fine. And then the background, the sky is just a little too simplistic. It needs to be the sky needs to be a little bit brighter to make him stand out a little bit better. And there's a couple things that little nitpicking things that I could make this look better. But overall, like it has the idea to it, right? It has the idea to it. And this concept, I think this concept was pretty good. Now this is just a weird shot because it looks like he's standing on the water. It's kind of just unclear. There needs to be some sort of there needs to be an object in the water, a fairly large object like a boat or a buoy or something to show the scale so that you're not thinking that he's stepping on the water. Like I need to add something to that water to make it obvious that he's not a giant. It's just a little, I don't know, it's just a little weird looking at it now. But and then this design, I think this design looks cool. I think the design in the end is a cool idea, but it just doesn't look good in execution. Like there's just a lot of stuff that's just very just not well done about it. Just a lot of things that just need to be improved over. Just a lot of minor things that would make it look a lot better. But yeah, I mean it's it's a cool design, I think, but it just needs a little more time in the oven. You know what I mean? And the crazy thing is when you think about it, when you go back and you look at your old art, like that you're capable of doing better. Like back then I could have done the same things that I'm doing now. The difference is mainly is time and effort. That I didn't really want to put in the time to make that look better than I did, and it's a laziness. And thankfully I've been able to push past that and be able to make something good. A little bit better than what it was. Oh yeah, and the ending page. But yeah, this is the type of story, and intentionally so, where like my intention with it was to try and make it look like an edgy, like, oh, my parents wouldn't want me reading this, it's about demons type of thing. That was the approach. Like I was trying to like make something look edgy and dark and messed up that kids would be feel like they're being rebellious for even looking at. But in the end, what I ended up doing was just early on, being an artist, you make a lot of mistakes, you do a lot of things you would do differently, and I want to go back and I want to talk about like I've kind of looked at the art now. I want to talk about the story, the the basic idea here that I wanted to tell with DemoniCo, and spoilers if you want to read it, I mean, go ahead, but I haven't done a good job of selling it to you, talking so badly about it, but basically the main idea with DemoniCo was to tell a story about redemption, tell a story about loneliness, a kid who's an orphan. He lost both of his parents when he was very young. It was a very messed up way that he lost them too. and he's a character with a lot of trauma, a lot of loneliness, a lot of hatred in him, and it's represented by him continuing to use more and more of his demon powers. And it's not a good thing whenever he gets stronger. It's a bad thing because he's giving more into that hate side. And I think part of my goal with this as well was to tell the story of salvation as well. Me being a Christian, I wanted to tell a Christian story, but I didn't want it to overtly be like just a straight up Christian thing, because I know that you can't really appeal to the broader audience by making something very obviously a Christian film. You know what I mean? Anytime there's like God's Not Dead, which was a huge deal for the Christian side of things in America back whenever it came out in like 2010 or something. The movie is not good. The movie is not good. I'm sorry. You can like it because it came out whenever you grew up or whatever. I'll always have a soft spot for it, but the movie is actually just not good. No matter which way you really look at it, it's just not. And what happens is that if you make Christian entertainment, you're only going to draw in Christians, really. Or you might catch people watching it on reruns on their TV just late at night whenever they're bored and they have nothing else to watch. You might catch a few people that way, but mainly what you're going to do is you're only going to appeal to Christians. And so my thought process was, how can I reach the most people by doing this and have those people not be Christians mostly, like, because the point is to introduce the message of Christ, the salvation of God, and to reach people with that. And that was my goal with it. But the goal was not to appeal to other Christians. The goal was to appeal to people who are feeling hopeless, are feeling lost, and need help finding a way in life. And this was my answer to that. This was my way to do that, and to try and appeal to like a younger demographic with the art style, to appeal to the kids who are looking to find something to to get into that they think their parents wouldn't want to, and to actually surprise. There's actually some good life lessons and Christian values in this story. So you can go through this story and come out of it not a Christian, and that's that's up to you. That's totally fine. Like, I'm not saying you have to believe in God by the end of this, but the idea was to use the biblical canon and sort of like obviously take some creative liberties with it to make the story happen. But the idea was to basically tell the story of Simon, defeating his loneliness, letting people in, and by doing that, he lets in Ruth, which is an exorcist, obviously a believer. And she over time has an effect on him. And there's a moment towards the end where they basically, wow, these thumbnails are sending me, bro. There's basically a moment towards the end where like Simon has a choice. He can either double down on his hatred towards his father, and doom his soul to hell forever, or he can let go of that, and he can give forgiveness, but also accept forgiveness for his own sins. And that was kind of the idea with it. There's there's a lot of stuff in here that if I were to redo it today would be removed. For example, this would not be a 3-season thing. This would be a 1-season thing. I would probably make it 12, 13 episodes, like a typical season of a show would be on TV. I would probably narrow it down to that. And the main reason why is because I feel like a lot of the side characters sort of just distract from the main point of the story, and it doesn't really make sense, right? It doesn't really work with the main story I'm doing, because what are the demons in the story, right? The demons are the bad guys, right? Well, if the demons are the bad guys, if if I'm portraying them at least somewhat realistic to how they are depicted in the Bible, why is one of the good guys fighting here? Why is one of the good guys Samson, which is a possessed kid? Why is that a thing? Why is Sheba, um, shortened for Bathsheba? Why is she helping the heroes here? It doesn't really make sense, and I feel like in hindsight, it definitely muddies the story a little bit. I think it muddies the point of the story, and only just makes things more complicated than they need to be. Um, there's some good moments with some of the other side characters, like Delilah is a side antagonist for season two. I think she's got some interesting things. I think there's the idea that victims of abuse and stuff can end up perpetuating the cycle. Not intended to do that, and they don't set out to do that, but sometimes that just happens. And it's sad. Obviously, it's sad to see that, but sometimes it does happen, and it's something you hate to see. But it's one of those things where I think Delilah, the story I told with her, I think had some good potential with it. I don't think I did the best with it, but I think it had some good potential. Of course, Saul is an antagonist. I think he's probably arguably the best thing about this series is Saul as an antagonist. There's a lot of twists and turns with him. How he plays the system, he plays on both sides essentially to try and orchestrate everything to benefit him the most, and I think that works for Saul. I think having him be the main antagonist instead of like literally the devil, I think allows me to be more creatively free with him. Like I can actually have him defeated, um, in like a actual like final way. And compared to that, like you can't really do that with the devil if I'm going off of the Bible canon, right? It's hard to really do that. So I think in hindsight, what I think is probably my worst decision as far as the story goes is introducing a character called Mary. I think Mary is probably the worst decision I ever made in the story. And, and look, Peter is also kind of bad too. Peter is also basically it's like a clone of Simon. And to kind of the whole reason I wanted to do this, the whole reason I wanted to have Simon have a clone of himself was to show that these are the two different options, the two different outcomes that he can have, two different paths that he can take, and I wanted, instead of just showing one, I wanted to show both. I wanted to actually have like a moment where you can see Peter and be like, this is literally Simon if he didn't have Ruth, and that the point of that I think was good, but the execution I think was a little bit worse than I wanted it to be. Of course, like having to explain how someone can be cloned in the first place is convoluted in a series like this, especially where there's not too much sci-fi stuff. It's kind of hard to justify that in the story. I want to go through this chapter because I actually think some of the art still kind of holds up. Oh man, look at that expression. That's crazy, man. I used to draw eyes so big. It's crazy. But yeah, some of the fight scenes I think are pretty good. Like this. This is not the best, obviously, compared to like my current stuff, but it is like a pretty. I think it's a pretty decent composition for the shot. Like you got Saul getting a tooth knocked out or broken. You got his face like moving like this. You got the spit coming out and everything. Like you can see his jaws, kind of his bottom jaws moving this way and stuff like that. Like his jaw is twisting from the hit, and I think that makes sense. I think I think it's not terrible. Obviously, it could have been better. This is the money shot here. I still think this shot is pretty good. I'm still pretty proud about how this turned out here. The impact of the wind and the sound waves and everything, like the floors cracking and flying pieces everywhere. Like I think this turned out actually pretty good. I'm still fairly proud of this one, but yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Project Land. I forgot. I called it Project Land. That was another thing too. The setting. I never used the setting really, and looking back on it, that's such a baffling thing. I don't know how I ended up doing that. Like the setting is that the world has been flooded, and yet for some reason I never had any kind of like big role for that in the story. Like it was never like a huge part of the actual like the characters or anything. It had nothing to do with anything. It was just kind of there, and I regret that as well. But I think probably my biggest regret is Mary, because Mary kind of, ironically, she kind of comes in almost like a Mary Sue, which is funny because I hate I hate Rey from Star Wars so much for being a Mary Sue, and I didn't even realize I kind of wrote one to begin with. Now she's not perfect, she can't do everything, but she comes in season 2, just to kind of explain Timmy's whole backstory, and she wasn't really needed. She wasn't necessary to the story, no matter which way you put it. She was not needed to be in this. Samson wasn't needed to be in this. It's all just kind of like unnecessary side characters that I think really really brought the story down. I think, especially towards the end, I think it just kind of just made it more convoluted than it needed to be, and and I think there was some potential for them. I think the side characters could have been good. I think they could have been written well, but I think what ended up happening was there was just too many pieces. There's too many pieces. And while I think I wrapped them all up, like I wrapped up all the loose ends and everything in the story by the end of it, I just don't think it was necessary at all to have them in there, especially since the point of the story is to show, like, salvation, specifically of Simon. So, like, what do these side characters do? What are these side characters doing? Like, Samson, at the very least, is a friend to Simon, which is nice that he's not just friends with Ruth. But it kind of just, again, the concept of the demons being the bad guys, and yet I have demons helping Simon and Ruth. It doesn't really make sense. It doesn't fit with the story, really. It doesn't really work that way, I don't think. So there's some things that I think easily could have been removed from the story, and nothing of true value would have been lost. I think if I just focused 12, maybe even 10 to 13 episodes of just focusing on Simon, Ruth, and Timmy, and the I can include the other antagonists. I can include Delilah. I can include Saul and Judas and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I think it could have been a lot smoother, a lot more well put together if I just narrowed down the list of characters. I do want to look at this. I'm pretty proud of some of this stuff still to this day, like how you can see, like, Peter and Simon's dad, like, punching him, and he's flying back from it and everything. I think that works. I think narratively it works for visually what's going on here. Simon is facing his father, but he's also facing himself in a way. He's facing his rage in the embodiment of Peter. And then this shot, I feel like this shot is actually really good. Look, there's still some things I think I would do differently looking at it now, for sure. There's some things I would do differently, but this just kind of embodies, I think, everything that I wanted to do with this scene. Also it's obvious that Simon's dad, but Simon basically just looks just like his father, but obviously younger. So that's another thing. That's another visual representation of what Simon could become. Like, he could become this angry man. He could perpetuate the cycle of abuse, the cycle of rage and stuff like that. He could end up like Delilah. He could end up like Saul. He could end up like Peter. They're all foils to him, and I think the villains work. But I don't think the side characters worked out. So yeah, and then this last page here, or not last artwork, but sort of close to the end here, where Simon forgives his father, gives him a hug, and did I draw his eye? Why is his eye shaded out? I don't know why that's the case, but by doing this, it's causing the demon within him, the half demon side of him, to be vanquished. Like, all these holes popping out of him, the void begins to glow brightly and everything instead of being black. And the color returns to his father. And then this page, I feel like this page is just I feel like that's a good hitting moment right there. And then, of course, Saul is burning up here because of plot twist reasons that I think was okay, but could have been better. And then this final moment here where he smashes into Simon and he breaks apart. I feel like that was pretty fun. I thought that was a fun way for Saul to go out. And then, yeah, the side characters here. I mean, I don't think either of these needed to be here. I think both of these could have just been removed from the story, just focused on the main characters, and things would have been a lot better. I think things would have been a lot more organized and stuff. But yeah, I mean, like the setting. I didn't do anything with the setting. It's I don't know. It's interesting, right? It's interesting. Um, it's interesting to look back on an old story and see what you would do differently. Uh, and I feel like I've talked about it enough at this point. I just want to do this. I thought this would be a fun little video looking back on it. And I mean, just comparing this to Little Miss Steele, and looking like, especially like this last episode, this last volume here, the quality difference. The quality difference is so much better. It's so much better now. Everything, the proportions are far more consistent. The actual character designs and the way I've drawn them, it's just so much better. And I'm still improving. You know, I'll always be improving. And maybe in like 6 years time, I'll look back at Little Miss Steele and be like, wow, this is so amateur compared to what I'm doing now. The stuff I'm doing now is so much better than this. You know, maybe that'll be another video in the future I make if the world doesn't get destroyed by then. But the the ideas that you can look back in your old stuff and you can still remember like how you felt making it back then, like the feeling of accomplishment for making what you did then, and still being able to like recognize that very flawed, very just not good in many cases drawings from back then, and writing as well. The mistakes you learn from just doing things trial and error. So I'm glad I made DemoniCo first, because I think Little Miss Steele is the better story, and I'm glad that I got those years of making stuff not as good out of the way so I can start making things better today for this story, because I think this story is going to be more broadly appealing to people than DemoniCo is. You know, the story of DemoniCo just sort of exists as like a relic of EV Comics past at this point. Will I ever go back to it? Maybe. You know, if I ever get finished with Little Miss Steele, maybe I'll go back and make DemoniCo into a full comic. I might just do that, you know? That's the thing about it. That's the thing about it. There's always the potential to go back and remaster some stuff. But right now, my plate is full with Little Miss Steele, so I don't think I'll be doing anything else as far as DemoniCo goes. It would definitely have to be a passion project I do in the background more than anything. But with all that being said, thanks so much for watching this video. Thank you so much if you read DemoniCo and have been sticking around since then. Thank you. I hope you've seen the improvement and have enjoyed the increase in quality. I'm always trying to get better. So I'm telling you, if you ever feel bad about your art or your writing or something, go back and read something you made years ago, like 3 to 5 years ago, and the difference is always going to be major. There's always going to be some stuff you can look back on and say, you know what? Maybe I'm not doing so bad today. Maybe I'm doing better than I thought. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. Check out Little Miss Steele. Read it for free. Check out DemoniCo if you want to. I did just kind of spoil everything, but if you want to check it out, go ahead. And until next time, peace out.